Yeah. Welcome to Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, the crime critic, back again with another episode. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about reclaiming your voice, right? Reclaiming your voice. Why is that important, and why should everybody that's in prison do that? And why should people on the streets be doing that, right? Well, let me tell you why. Because if you don't have a voice, if you don't exercise that voice, you're going to find yourself in a dark box in a lonely place, and it's going to lead you to do some things that most people uh, regret later on, like me. You know what I'm saying? When I came to prison, uh, I didn't buy into a lot of the stuff that they said about how I had to survive in this environment and all the things that came with it. But I did do some of the things to survive, and those things that I was doing, hustling, getting money, really not focusing on the outside world. Those types of things that I did, respecting the rules of the game in the penitentiary because they're different than the streets. It put me in a box that, even though I had one foot in, one foot out, it put me in a box that made me a much colder person, right? And it's almost like you can feel the chill that runs over your body when you live that type of lifestyle, because you got to be pretty much cold towards everything and everybody. But what you don't realize in the process of that, you're losing your voice. You're losing that part of you that makes you special, that makes you unique. You're becoming a part of a bigger community that is corrupt, that sees things one way, not open to change, and most definitely not open to hope. Not open to hope. Remember that, right? And as a part of that community, uh, you are not an individual anymore. It's kind of like if you ever watch Star Trek, The Next Generation, they got these characters on it called the Borg, right? And the Borg is like this collective, and nobody really has their individual thoughts. All thoughts are part of this one collective, and everybody thinks and does things for each other and all this and that, right? And it may sound like a good concept, but it takes away their individuality, right? And when I talk about reclaiming your voice, I'm talking about reclaiming your individuality. Now, most people lose that individuality before they come to prison, right? They don't realize what's happening because they're participating in a mindset, a lifestyle that is not about individuality. It's about giving that up and being a part of a lifestyle that is governed a specific way, rules that were determined before you were probably even born, right? And giving that up is hard to do because you feel like you're a part of a community, but what you don't realize is that you have no voice. If you don't act a certain way, respond a certain way to issues, say certain things in regard to certain issues, then you're on the outside looking in. What do I mean by that? If you don't see the police as the enemy, you have a problem. If you don't see if you see that helping somebody is good and not helping somebody, if you see that helping somebody is bad and not helping somebody is good, then you are welcome in that environment. If you see that being as brutal as you can be towards somebody is good, then you're welcome in that environment. But if you see the opposite side of that, you're not welcome in that environment. If you don't respond a certain way, like for example, if somebody calls you a snitch or a boy or a bitch or whatever the case may be, and you don't respond a certain way, you're not welcome in that environment, right? And that is what I mean when you get sucked into that whole, that collective of losing your individuality and become a part of something that is dark. But when you reclaim your voice, and you say enough is enough, and you don't want to live that way anymore, you're going to go through some tough times because people are going to ostracize you. People are going to call you things and say things about you because they don't want you to leave. The truth is they don't have the courage to do what you did. They want you to stay. Misery loves company. But you have to have that strength in you to say enough is enough for me. I don't want to live that way anymore. I don't want to think that way anymore. I don't want to act that way anymore. And that, excuse me, and that is what I mean by reclaiming your voice. Whether you're inside prison or outside of prison, you have to do this mental inventory and discover those things about you that made you want to become part of that collective anyway, part of that mindset in the first place. And once you realize the things that made you want to become a part of, whether it be fear, loneliness, a sense of belonging, peer pressure, whatever it was that made you want to go to the other side of this mindset, you have to look at yourself and say, that is not helpful to me. That's not helpful to me. How would you feel if somebody objectified your mother, your daughter, your sister? But in this world of darkness, it's okay to talk about women like they're just an object, or men too, for that matter, depending on what you're into. It's okay to mistreat people. It's okay to be disrespectful to people. It's okay to be brutal towards people. It's okay to take advantage of people. It's okay to manipulate people. It's okay to deceive people. That is what this lifestyle is about. And to reclaim your voice, you have to reject all of that. You have to denounce all of that. Not some of it, but all of it. And that is a hard process because your whole identity has been wrapped up in that for so long that you don't see what it looks like. You don't know what life is going to be like without that. But what you have to do, what I would suggest that you do when you reclaim your voice, is take your time. Take baby steps. The first thing you have to acknowledge is that you don't want to live that way. Okay, that's good enough. Now, what does that look like? Not wanting to live that way. Not participating in those activities, not talking like that. You know what I'm saying? Not reinforcing somebody else, you know what I'm saying, that's talking like that. Not backing them up, because that's a trick right there too. You stay away from that. How do you do that in prison? Find other things to get involved in. And if you have to alienate yourself from that, trust me, you're not alienating yourself from anything that is going to benefit you. That stuff doesn't benefit you. Cut yourself off from that. And over time, you don't have to figure it all out in one day. Over time, you'll figure out that the process of reclaiming your voice it's not as difficult as you thought it was. It's just lonely at first because you have to reestablish relationships. You have to reestablish boundaries into how you want your life to look. And we don't often get those types of pieces of advice handed to us in here. We're told to just stop and that's good enough. But how do I do that? How do I stop something that I've been doing for 10 years, 15 years, 30 years? It's easy to say just stop. It's a process to it. You know what I mean? It's a process to it. I just wanted to drop that on y'all. You know how I am. I'll come up with something real quick and throw it at you and then get on out the way, right? Just dropping that on y'all about reclaiming your voice, getting away from that negative mindset. And hopefully that whether you're inside or outside of prison, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And if you got any questions or comments about what I just said, hit me up. Let me know what you think, and we can converse on that if need be. And another thing too, right? Anybody out there, if you have any questions that you want me to answer, hit me up in my email, or hit me up in my email, and doingtimewithjoet@gmail.com. And I'll do a show about it. You know what I mean? I'm always looking for topics, things that my listeners want to hear. And if you got something that you want me to talk about, hit me up and let me know, and I'll be glad to do an episode about it. Okay? Doingtimewithjoet@gmail.com. That's DOIN without the G. Okay? Peace, y'all.